This was honestly a little tricky to figure out at first, this OptiFlow technology, so the suction paired with the steam. I'm gonna tell you the tips and tricks because this ended up being so incredibly powerful, and it's not surprising. The brand Rowenta sent this to me to test, but they have some of the top selling irons and steamers, so they kind of know what they're doing. And yeah, let me show you kind of how to use it. But let's get into the details. This is the AeroSteam Twist because you can rotate this head, which makes it a lot easier to get details, or if you're like going down on a skinny section, because the steam is coming out this center here, and these outer holes are the suction, that OptiFlow technology. This heats up ready to use in 30 seconds. It has a 5-ounce reservoir and it lasts for 12 minutes of continuous steam. So anytime you're like pulling the trigger and the steam's coming out, so it lasts way longer than 12 minutes. And I love how you fill it up right here on the top. So they give you a little cup to pour it in. But the other steamer that I have, you have to like twist off this portion and it's like this whole thing. But here you just pop it open and pour it in, very simple. And I also love that this is very stable. You can just set it right down. So if you're having it cool off or just like in the middle of steaming, you can just set it on any flat surface. This ceramic plate is 3 inches tall and then 5.5 inches wide. So this is very big. You can get really good surface area. I measured the cord to be 8 feet 2 inches, and it comes with this little hook and loop kind of organizer. With this full of water, this weighs in at 2 pounds, 14 ounces. So just shy of 3 pounds. And it's not super heavy, but it definitely has a little weight to it. I didn't have an issue, but I think if you were steaming for a really long time or in like a really like reaching kind of position, you might have to like take a break. But overall, it's very comfortable to hold, like the ergonomics of this. The operation is very simple. Just plug it in and then press the power button to turn it on. Then select either steam only, so that's great for delicates. Then there is steam plus soft suction, which is good for like regular fabrics like a t-shirt. And then steam plus turbo suction, which is great for heavier, thicker type of materials. In all modes, the steam was very effective, even with just one pass. You do wanna go at a little bit of a slower rate just so it has some time, but I wanna get into kind of how this gets a little tricky when you're using that suction. So with any steamer, the goal is kind of put a little tension on the garment and the steam goes in and relaxes it flat. And with this one, with the suction, you kind of still need that second hand, but you're almost just using it to like guide the fabric. If things are draped down, I was catching like a wrinkle basically a lot of times because it would suction the wrinkle flat onto the steamer head and kind of reinforce it, versus if I use the other hand and just kind of like pick it up, especially areas like the armpit, for example, where the fabric is kind of laying over the top of each other. I still had to like kind of flatten it out with one hand, and then the suction would go in and really grab it, put tension, make sure it was flat. So yeah, you just kind of have to practice a little bit and work with it, but this was super powerful once I understood that. And again, twisting the head is really helpful when you're doing some details because the outer ring is the suction, the inner line is where the steam comes out. So if you're doing something like where buttons are on a dress shirt, you want to have the suction area fully covered or else it kind of loses some of its power. So going vertical is a lot more like helpful for that. There is a filter that needs to be cleaned fairly often. This is probably from about 15 garments, and because it has that suction, it's kind of like pulling lint into the system. So just want to make sure this is cleared off, and then this just slides back in here. Overall, this Rowenta AeroSteam Twist is a really cool design with a twisting head, and of course this suction technology. You kind of have to practice and figure it out, but it's super helpful and overall very powerful, so definitely check it out.